Oh, you're more than welcome to take pictures, absolutely. Is she going to come up or not? Oh, yes, here she is. Okay. So we'll be here for a few minutes. Feel free to take a seat somewhere, and we'll just talk for a few minutes. So welcome to the Sky Chapel. Officially, it's known as the Chapel in the Sky, but we've always referred to it as the Sky Chapel. So that's how you will mostly hear it called the Sky Chapel. We claim, the church claims, that this is the highest chapel in the world. Well, is it? Honestly, I don't know. But we are in the Guinness Book of World Records as being the highest chapel in the world. What we do know for a fact is that we are 400 feet above street level here. From the base of the building, the sidewalk level, here to the ceiling is 400 feet. So it is pretty high up. Whether it's the highest in the world, I don't know. But anyway, we claim to be the highest chapel in the world. The Sky Chapel was completed in the year 1952 and was dedicated in December of 1952. Construction on the parsonage began first, and the parsonage was open in January of 1950, and then a couple of years later, the Sky Chapel was finished. So the story is this. We saw his picture downstairs, the Reverend Charles Goff. The story goes that sometime in the 1940s, he was outside with some church members. He was speaking to one in particular and said to this church member, "Wow, look at our beautiful tower. Wouldn't it be nice to have a chapel in the tower?" Well, the person he was talking to said to him, "Well, I'd like to give a memorial to my husband. So maybe we can make some kind of arrangement." And that's exactly what happened. The woman in question was none other than Myrtle Walgreen. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Walgreen Drugstore Company in the United States. Well, certainly Chicago, but throughout the United States you will find Walgreen drugstores most places. They're on almost every street corner here in Chicago. But the Walgreen Drugstore Company was founded in Chicago in the early part of the 20th century by Charles Walgreen. He died in the year 1939. Mrs. Walgreen, his widow, Myrtle, came to this church sometime in the 1940s and was a very active member for many years. But she decided that she would be very happy to pay for the Sky Chapel as a memorial to her husband, Charles. And I do think it's very important to, first of all, know, and secondly, to thank Mrs. Walgreen for her very, very generous gift. And she was just one of several women who gave a lot of money to this church over the years. I marvel downstairs about the church members who could put up the tallest building in Chicago. But one of the reasons they could was there was a very wealthy woman in Chicago who gave the church a lot of money. And it's just important to remember that. It's a very important part of the story. But Mrs. Walgreen gave more than money for the chapel. This beautiful white oak comes from the country home, if we may call it that the Walgreens had near a small town called Dixon here in the state of Illinois. It's quite a bit west and south of Chicago. But they had a place they would go to, I assume, in the warmer months. And some of the trees were cut down and the wood processed to be used here in the Sky Chapel. So let me talk about a couple of things here in the Sky Chapel. The ceiling, believe it or not, is a cross. It's a Greek-style cross where the arms of the cross are the same length. Normally we see crosses of this kind in most Western churches, where the arm of the cross is not as long as the vertical piece of the cross. The X's here we call St. Andrew crosses. Andrew, you may remember, was a disciple of Jesus, and tradition holds that Andrew himself was crucified, but on an X-shaped cross. So if you're familiar, for instance, with the flag of Scotland, there is a St. Andrew's cross on the flag of Scotland. Now, the truth is there are steel beams behind this wood, and I'm sure in the 1920s, before anybody was thinking about the Sky Chapel, the steel beams were not put up here because of St. Andrew. They were put up here to keep the tower from falling off the top of the building. But with the beautiful wood and the fact that there are four of them so close together, you do have a sense of the St. Andrew's cross here in the Sky Chapel.